You're watching Floyd Steinberg's YouTube channel. In a rather unexpected move, Soma has converted their Metaconformer MIDI processor into a 4-track, 4-voice, 4-part polyphonic FM synthesizer. Today I'm going to take a look at both functionalities, and if you think that's an interesting idea, please join me in this video. Here we go. The Metaconformer out of the box is a MIDI processor that has 2 MIDI inputs, 3 MIDI outputs and 1 hybrid output that can send either MIDI messages or a sync signal. It can act as a MIDI merger or splitter and as a translator that converts notes to CC messages. This in itself is very handy already, but some weeks ago Soma surprisingly announced a firmware that turns this into an innovative FM synthesizer, which we'll take a look at today. To install, download the firmware from Soma's webpage and unzip it. Then connect the Metaconformer to your computer with the USB cable. Press and hold the CFG button and then press the reset button. A USB drive will now open on your computer. Move the firmware there and rename it to blink.bin. Then eject the USB drive and then press the reset button on the back of the device. You'll know the installation was successful when pushing the CFG button turns the rightmost LED green. Okay, so this is Soma Laboratories' Metaconformer with the SimpleXFM firmware, which turns this MIDI processor into an FM synth, 4-part, multi-timbral, 4-voice polyphonic. You will need a master keyboard to operate this. You can't play along on this device itself. You need a keyboard and you need at least 1 modulation wheel. Ideally, you'll also want to sequence it. So this workstation here is really a good choice for working with this synth. The first thing I want to do here is to switch to channel 5, because per default the voices of this synth are distributed to the channels 5, 6, 7 and 8, because each of those voices has its own MIDI channel. So now we can play some notes here. There are 2 layers here, the timbre layer and the articulation layer. I can switch between them using the configuration knob here. Once the green light is on, we're working on the articulation layer. When it's off, we're working on the timbre layer. You can see this menu here. What we can do here is we can work on these options by pressing this button here. So now we've got this option middle. And if you turn the modulation wheel now, you can see the LEDs are moving here. So we're changing this parameter here. So let's listen to this. Okay, so the first parameter is called middle here, and what it does, it transforms the standard triangle wave. In a triangle, the peak is in the middle, so you can move the peak around. If we push the peak to the very left or very right of the wave, we'll end up with a saw wave, and that's what this does. Let's leave it there. The next is fold. This is wave folding. You can get some pretty interesting harmonically rich overtones here. So let's listen to this. Play the same note. And now we're going to fold this wave. Once you reach the maximum values or the minimum values of the modulation wheel, this will turn into a noise generator. Let's leave it there. The next parameter is drive. This is exactly what you'd think it will do. It will distort the sound, adding even more overtones. Let's go to the next value. Delay. So what we have here is really not a delay, but a comp filter, and both delay and feedback are changing the parameters of the comp filter. Use this with caution, it will go into overdrive country really quick. now go to feedback and dial down the feedback a little bit. What you can do here is to get a couple of strong-like effects. Right, next is volume. Let's change the volume a bit. Okay, so the next two functions are really where it's at, the bee's knees if you want to. We have FM source and FM volume. So let's start with FM source. And in order to demonstrate this, I will record a simple short sequence here on my Yamaha EX5. I'll start on channel 5, which really is channel 1 on the Metaconformer. Go to pattern editor and press record step sequencer, play, and I will choose a full note length here. There it is. And now I'll just play a bass line. Okay, so now we can play that back. I think you get it. Now we're going to go to the next channel, channel 6 here, and record some arpeggiated notes on top of that. So let's listen to this. Go into step recording mode once again. I will use 16th notes here and insert some rests in between. So let's just play a very simple pattern. Okay, let's listen to this. So there you have it. And what we want to do now is go back to channel 5 and then we'll go to the FM source option here, which is the rightmost button here. And what we want to do now is to set the FM source to channel 6. So use the mod wheel and take a look at the LEDs here. So there you have it. This channel is now our frequency modulation source for the bass. If you move this carefully, you can see this increases there, but yeah, we're going to set it here. Okay, now let's press the button for the FM volume. Let's play this back and then slightly modulate this to go ever higher. Here we go. So yeah, what does it mean? Every voice or every track on the synthesizer can be a source for frequency modulation on another track. As you've seen here, this is shown in binary code, but you can principally select each and every track or all tracks to modulate your track here, which can result in pretty interesting sounds. Also, with this system in place, you're not bound to any ratios to use, but instead the note you play will determine the amount and the frequency of the modulation. Okay, let's take a look at the second row here, the articulation layer. So in order to access that, you have to press the config button, so this LED lights up green. And now it's the same thing as before. Press the first button to change shape, second one to change period, and so on. So the first 4 of these deal with the amp envelope of your sound, and the shape is just some kind of broad approach to quickly change the shape of the envelope. So I've selected that now. Let's listen to this. You can hear that there's a difference. Now we have a very fast attack here. And now it's a little bit more slow. A bit softer. Yeah, let's take a look at the other options. So here's period. So now this deals with the attack. So now we have a very fast attack. Now we have a very slow attack. Let's make that a little bit faster. Right, next is sustain, which should be obvious. That's the loudness during the sustain phase. Let's dial that down a little bit. And then we have release, obviously, so there's a lot of release. And then we have a very quick release. Let's put it somewhere in the middle. Okay, next one is interesting. We have a destination, so we can map this amp envelope we just created to a couple of different destinations. And yeah, let's take a look at that. Okay, so the first thing we want to adjust here is the amp intensity. So press button number 7 and dial this up a bit so we can actually hear any differences. So I don't want to totally go all in here, but I think the reality is up will do. Now go back to option number 5 and we have the destination here. And moving the mod wheel, we'll select one of 8 destinations. First one is middle. Remember, that's determining if a wave should be more like a triangle or a saw wave. So now we've got the amp envelope. Modifying that. Next destination is wave folding. So now you can hear the amp envelope modifying the amount of wave folding there. Next destination, drive. Delay. Feedback. That's not much of a difference here because I didn't add too much of the comp filter or delay in the first place. But we'll take a look at that later in this video. Next destination is volume. So everything remains the same here because we've used that before. Now we've got the amount of frequency modulation. And last but not least, the pitch. Now that's a bit much, so to go back to the amp intensity page and dial this down a little bit. Okay, let's take a look at the last 2 options as well. Here we've got transpose. The last one is glide. So there's a pretty decent amount of glide here. These are all the options you can use to shape your sound. And now let's take a look at some examples that I came up with, and I found you can create pretty expressive sounds or instruments with these parameters. Yeah, and that's it for today. So my laboratory is Metaconformer, useful as both a MIDI processor and experimental FM synthesizer. And if you think this was a good YouTube video, please do the YouTube thing. As always, thanks for watching and see you again very soon. Bye bye!